Yes, we'll be talking about the forthcoming Anambra governorship elections. And so, yes, as you've seen there, we've got two gentlemen joining us this morning. But we'll stand here in Lagos. We've got Chief Dan Ulasi, who is a former chairman of PDP in the state, and the NRC. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, quite interesting things playing out in the state. There's several perspectives, really. But, of course, there's security. It's a big component. We've seen all of that deployment going on in the state at the moment. But from what you've seen, talking about the build-up to these elections, are you optimistic? What concerns do you have? You think things will go on irrespective of all of these surrounding distractions, as it were?
Well, thank you for inviting me in the first place, and good morning. It will be difficult to have this analysis and the line you're doing it. I believe the situation in Anambra, and in fact the rest of the Southeast, is getting even more complicated. It's not just holding election on Saturday. There are a lot of precursors before that election comes up. The case of Nnamdi Kanu has further complicated the matter in the sense that the common people in the various villages are asking questions. How do we have a young boy whose crime was to ask for honesty, for understanding, for justice for his people, and in a country where you ask for justice, a gun is placed on your head, and we leave him languishing in prison, and people are talking about election? This is the tendency of people saying there will be no election. And there are parties running around. Nobody appears to be interested in what is happening. And in the past few days, the situation has even been more complicated with the fate of Justice Mary Odili. So it does indicate that there is a defined process to decimate a people, or like the government says, dominate a people and decide what happens there. So the candidature is not just now about whether somebody is qualified. If they have a basic certificate and have experience, that's qualification in Nigeria. Whether you have performed in the past is not relevant anymore. So we're now looking at Saturday's election from the point of view of candidates who will have courage to be able to discuss the very serious situations in Anambra, which also affects the rest of the Southeast. We have fundamental problems of existence. There's an existential problem in the Southeast, and Anambra typifies that. So it's not just people running around, we're going for an election. Trying to discuss that, and they get into, supposing Mrs. Odili had been killed in this raid in a country where a Supreme Court judge is messed up, still from the Southeast, you can see it is a lot more complicated problem than just going to vote.
So if you could just shed some light on this matter for us, if you will. So what is the thinking? Is it that if they don't let elections or want elections to hold, and then assuming elections don't hold, what is that going to achieve? Because the gentleman you spoke about is undergoing processes in the courts. The factor you also raised now about just so they've said they're going to investigate it. So all of these things also have processes.
Yes.
So if the elections don't hold, what will that have achieved?
Well, majority of us are conversing that elections must hold. But we are now discussing about what kind of candidate will appear to be governor of Anambra with the courage to want to face the realities on the ground. And that was why I had to give you the initial problem of Nnamdi Kanu and Odili now, which are complicated. It's not just people running around, I want to be governor. How many of them have taken the courage to even mention, to defend our sons and daughters? Some arrested, some killed, and nothing is going on. So when I look at I narrowed it. It was another television station that I narrowed the governorship to 3 main candidates. And then I said it was Soludo, it was Valo Zubo, and then Obioro Konkwo, and her reasons why I had to narrow it. And yesterday I was looking at their debate. It was Andy Oba, Soludo, and Val. They removed...
You didn't include Senator Andy Oba?
they didn't include Obiora Okonkwo. Well, probably they did it on parties with platform. Maybe parties that have been in government. They must have a reason. I didn't know what their reason was. I didn't watch it from the beginning, so I didn't know whether they gave a reason.
What was your reason for leaving out the APC candidate?
Myself?
Yeah.
Because initially I said he wasn't competent to be governor. He had no business wanting to be governor of Anambra State. Absolutely not.
Okay.
First, he's not qualified. He's not qualified to be governor. Secondly, he organized with his boss then the kidnap of Ngige that failed. And that kidnap failure dissolved the state executive of PDP, and that was when I was appointed chairman of party.
Are you speaking about this from the point of view of perhaps documentation or reports, police reports?
No, what I'm saying that I worked as chairman of PDP for 3.5 years, 3.5 months, and sometimes I was on this your channel and AIT, and I told the government what really happened, told the world what happened.
Yeah, but is this backed up by any police documentation or anything?
Well, how do you back criminality with documentation that you can lay hands on? Yeah, it was clear that Anambra State government house was attacked.
But those are the agencies responsible for
investigating the police was responsible
for investigating criminality.
Well, do they investigate in this country? If government is supervising the criminality, how do we investigate it? Well, Mrs. Aldili's house was just attacked, and the Attorney General of the country has not spoken about what is going on there.
Well, he has. He has.
And what has he said? He said he doesn't know about what is going on.
Yes, he's spoken.
Doesn't that look very funny to you? That a department under him organized the police, the army, they have faces, and the Attorney General is telling us that he doesn't know.
Well, at the moment,
a second.
All of these agencies have denied complicity. So that's the question we were asking.
It shows you how beautiful.
Who is responsible?
It shows you how beautiful the country is.
Okay, now
we are running the country beautifully. Everybody who should know is denying that they don't know what is happening to a Supreme Court judge. So if she was killed that night, it will be fate.
Well, the country is asking the question. People need to know what actually transpired. So
you know, why we have to have these fundamentals is that we need a governor who is not just qualified, but who will have the courage to defend what not just Anambra is facing, but what the rest of the South is.
Okay,
because
Chief,
we are now becoming an endangered species.
Okay,
because I will name a candidate here. I will name.
No, well, you can't name any candidate.
No, I will give reasons why somebody would be better than the other.
No, you're supposed to be looking at it broadly speaking. Let's see what's happening in the entire scenario. But haven't gotten your opinion. Let's equally get to Abuja and see if our guest, the gentleman there, feels the same way. Mark?
Studios Ambassador Jerry Gokwe, who is Nigeria's former ambassador to Austria and also a former member of the House of Representatives. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you so very much. It's my pleasure, and good morning, Nigeria.
Well, there is a keen interest in the elections that will happen in Anambra this coming weekend. And there have been questions, fundamental questions really, about the conduct of the elections. INEC has raised questions way before now, especially with recent activities in the southeast, which has heightened the state of insecurity in that state. Yes, the first guest did refer to how there have been a number of sit-at-home protests, and people in Anambra State, it would seem, have also been subjected to that, so to speak. So there are questions as to whether or not they'll feel safe enough to be able to come out for the elections that will come up this weekend. What's your reading of the situation?
Well, let me start by saying that that is a good question that you put. You know, it's only somebody who had not been to the southeast or Anambra recently that will not have such a concern. I will tell you that you know, many of us are concerned, and we're talking about it. I was in Anambra, you know, up till yesterday. I came back yesterday, and you will really feel bad, you know, for people, because you're not allowed to go around. You're not allowed to go do your own business, because you may be killed, you may be murdered, you know, by people nobody knows who they are. I think that is unfair to my people. Now, you it does not mean that we do not share the ideals or ideas of those who are talking about emancipation of, if you will, the Igbo man. But, as a diplomat, things are better discussed on the table, but rather than, shooting guns and killing innocent people. The last time around, I was particularly moved. There was a gentleman who, his job was just driving keke. He feeds his family with keke. He maybe makes 1,000 naira a day and uses it to buy food for the children and stuff like that. Now, this gentleman, on a sit-at-home Monday, didn't have anything to eat. So he decided to drive out, and even if it means just one passenger, was going to give him and his family something to eat. And that young man was murdered. How would you feel about such a thing? When things like that happen, you begin to wonder, are people really thinking correctly? You kill a human being and you think it's a chicken or a dog or what have you. Even chickens, have their places. Even dogs, people can do many things to protect dogs. Not to talk about human beings. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a situation where someone would have the audacity to hold a proper discussion with these people. And, with what my brother, my former chairman, in the PDP had said, he categorized, or rather he named those he, thinks, were supposed to be, or rather qualified, or who should be governors of Anambra State. Now, I think he missed out one person very clearly, and that person is Senator Andy Uba of the APC. Now,
and he gave his reasons.
Yes, of course, he has his reasons. Then I have my own reasons too. One is we're talking about security. We're talking about issue of people's lives being saved. I can tell you that I'm aware and that Andy Uba at the time Owazurike and co were, on top of the Masop group. And Uba went to jail to discuss with him, to sit down with him and talk with him and negotiate, to try to find out how things could be resolved so that, whatever they were, doing would be minimized so that people's lives, will return to, what it used to be. So the point I'm making is that Andy has the capacity. You see, sometimes people think that it's only when people are shouting on the streets, when people are shouting at the tops of their voices, that you can say, they are strong. There are some silent operators, Many of us are people who do not come out to begin to show, that we've got this or we can do this. Andy is one of those kinds of people. You
don't think that he's got some baggage, which the gentleman in Lagos also, pointed to during the Chris Ngige, who interestingly is in the same party with him right now. As Dr. Chris Ngige, there were questions as to what transpired when he was governor of Anambra State.
I think that is most unfair to say that Andy orchestrated or championed the kidnap of Ngige. I say this because I was a member of the National Assembly when this matter, came up. I am aware, and not only was I a member of the National Assembly, I was the secretary of the Southeast Caucus of the National Assembly. So I'm talking from point of facts. I'm not talking about, innuendos.
What is the facts that you have?
The facts that I have is that Andy was not involved. One, when this happened, a call was placed to Obasanjo. Obasanjo was out of the country when this happened. Andy Uba was out of the country when this happened. Some of us, when we heard this, we were running around to know why would this happen in Anambra. A call was placed to President Obasanjo. And this was early in the morning, about 3 a.m., in the country where they were. That call, Obasanjo was asleep. It was Andy that picked this call, went and woke Obasanjo up, told him about what was happening in Nigeria. Obasanjo instructed him to call the vice president and call the IG to make sure that that didn't happen. How would you say that someone like that orchestrated such an arrest? I mean, such a kidnap? I think that is the most unfair thing to say. Like I said, you know, this, if that was the case, we have security agencies who would have been able to expose this. We have security agencies who would have been able to bring out these details. So it's not enough to accuse somebody of something. But like I said, I was an insider. So as members of the National Assembly, as caucus members of the Southeast, particularly those of us from Anambra State, we ask questions. And while in the process of asking questions, some of us were sent, you know, to make sure that the president was contacted. And that was what we did. When that call got to the president, it was Andy who had that telephone, the president's telephone. So Andy went and woke up the president at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Someone having done that, it would be unfair to say by anybody that such a person
we'll find out from our guest in Lagos whether he also has this fact, which you have. But I want to quickly take your reading, because you say you just came back from Anambra. If you have done, if you've spoken to the people who are expected to come out to vote on Saturday, what are their thoughts in terms of what needs to be done to make them feel safe?
Well, of course, people would like to vote, to go and cast their votes. You know, without a governor in Anambra, you know what the situation is. You know what the constitutional requirement is. It will be either a state of emergency or somebody else will take over Anambra. And people do not want that to happen. I went around, I spoke to some people. I went to my hometown, which is Nobi. Incidentally, in my hometown, the day I was there, there was a killing in my hometown, right in the middle of the market square. 2 people were killed, in fact, about 3. The police and these guys were exchanging fires for 45 minutes. So I feel the pains of my people. I mean, it was like a desert. You know, people deserted the market. A market, as a matter of fact, a woman who was selling, you know, provisions, across along the road was killed. How would you feel? So the people are determined to go and vote. People are determined to go and vote because what it means is that the present administration is not taking it serious. How could you? You know, the governor of my state, the Southeasterners were having a governor's security meeting and you did not attend. You were busy campaigning with your candidate. Where is that done? If I were that candidate, I would not even appear at that rally ground when people are being killed on the streets. When the governor ought to be there at the meeting for issues concerning Anambra State, particularly, which has become a killing zone, to be discussed, and you're not there, you went around campaigning. That's unfair. People are determined to go and vote in Anambra. Now I'm happy that, you know, like I said, I came back from Anambra yesterday, and military men, soldiers, policemen have been moved into the state, and people say as long as they feel safe, you know, with the policemen and the soldiers and the rest of them, they will go and cast their votes. Whoever they vote for is a different kettle of fish. But the important thing is that they are determined. They want to go and cast their votes for somebody they want to govern them.
Let's throw this back to Lagos now. Chamberlain.
Well, thank you, Mama Okwe. Well, one of the issues that comes to mind here, Chief, is, I mean, elections are already pretty much in play. The greatest concern for so many people right now, beyond the politics, beyond the politicians, is the people. What, in your opinion, do you think needs to be done to ensure the safety and security of the people who will employ the next governor of the state? Let's focus on the people for a few seconds, sir.
What needs to be done is that the people must be spoken.
No. That's for our Lagos guests. Sorry, Ambassador. That's for our Lagos guests, Chief Ulasi.
Well, you know, I listened to my good friend. Incidentally, you can see time changes everything. There is no secret that time does not reveal. I'm shocked beyond belief for my very brilliant friend and an architect who was an insider and knew what happened, how it was plotted, and they plotted it and went on tour. But I don't want to dwell on that. That's not why we're here. We're here to discuss the Anambra election, and he has now taken it to another stage of mentioning who he thinks will win and giving reasons, which looks to me ridiculous. But Jerry is somebody I love very much. He's a very bright boy, so because I've been useful to him too politically. I think the situation you asked about, the insecurity, only one person does, as things stand now. You know, I gave a background. Our background will relate in relation to the problem, what is facing the Southeast now. It's Nnamdi Kanu. Nobody should deceive himself about that. The governor said, Enugu governor is now taking up a serious initiative to see what to be done. So anybody who is going to be governor in Anambra State must be prepared to face it squarely.
The question here, sir, is what do the people themselves need to do? What does government need to do to ensure the safety and security of people?
Well,
we know that, just a second, we know that government has, just a second, we know that government has deployed, you know, policemen, hundreds of commanders, and even the military has done some deployment to the effect. Do you think that is sufficient to ensure the safety, to assure the people that they are safe and secure to go vote?
Look, you know, I don't want to go into the details of this imported violence. Let me tell you, because I was kidnapped on the 26th of last month, the people who kidnapped me told me what was going on. They are being hired from outside to create violence in Southeast. Most of the violence taking place in the Southeast are not from Igbos. People in certain situations pay people to create mayhem in their land. Unfortunately, because they wanted a situation like that to develop, and that was why the Attorney General of the Federation demanded that a state of emergency be declared in Anambra, as if the situation in Anambra was anything near Niger State, where the governor says he's lost control of his state. He's lost about 400 communities. As if the situation in Anambra and South is anything near what is happening in Katsina. As if the situation is anything near what is happening in Zamfara. And neither the bandits and the herdsmen have been declared terrorists. So tell me, apart from these occasional stops and gyration, what has IPOD done that was so significant to send the Nigerian armed forces to dominate the Southeast? You cannot, on a comparative analysis, say that what IPOD had done over the years has anything in relationship with what the carnage that is going on in Northwest, Northeast, and North Central. So, there's nothing that. But what I'm saying that of the candidates I mentioned, let me get back to the business. The three candidates I mentioned, very qualified, but topmost on the qualification is Professor Toludo. He's not from my party. He has not even told me. But the qualities following him is incredible. You cannot discuss it. He has courage. And I was watching the television interview, a program they had yesterday, their debate. He said he was the only one who went to Kuje prison to see Nnamdi Kanu, and that led to his release. So he has the capacity to engage the federal government, because if you don't discuss the question of Nnamdi Kanu, there will be no peace in the Southeast, whether anybody likes it or not. And the case of Mrs. Odeli has further complicated the matter now. So we need a governor who has courage, who will look at the federal government at the face and say, why don't we sit down to dialogue? Like Jeru Gokwe said, we need to sit down to talk. But it doesn't appear this government wants to talk.
We're trying to look at ways to ensure that this election is safe for the people who will come out to vote, is credible. I mean, on the side of INEC, INEC has been speaking. The security agencies have been speaking as well. But for the politicians who are the major players in this, interestingly, even IPOB has said that, well, the insecurity we have seen in the state is not from ESN, that it's from politicians. So it looks like we need to really have a proper sit down with politicians and have a good talk to ensure that this goes well. So, Chief Ulasi, first, I recall that you retired from politics in 2017, thereabouts. So you said that you were not interested in that anymore. But when you referenced my party earlier, yes, we know who you support, but are you back in the saddle now? So we know where you stand first before I put in the next question. Are you back in party politics?
Well, not necessarily. The kind of policies I'm involved now is looking to get out authentic Igbos that will take responsibility for the security of our people. And we want to start it with Anambra.
So when you say my party, what do you mean?
Well, I used to be party chairman of a party. I have not officially, resigned.
Okay, so
party. But what I'm saying, you talked about security.
No, so you're still with the PDP, right?
Theoretically, yes.
No, you're either with the PDP or not.
No. I mean, I'm an elder now, and I'm open because all the candidates have come to me. All the candidates have come to me.
Okay, let me simplify this.
And advise them, if they were restricting me to be a PDP member, they won't come to me.
So are you a card-carrying member?
I have to live above party. And, I laid the foundation here about what the interests of the Igbos are now. And our interest is security of life and property.
Definitely. Chief Ulasi, but just to be clear so our viewers understand
Yes.
And get closure on this, are you a card-carrying member of the PDP or not?
I was a card-carrying member.
So you're not registered with the PDP
No,
anymore?
as at now, I'm not registered with PDP.
So it's safe to say you're not a party member?
Yes.
Okay, so talking about now the security angle. In fact, there's a lot of issues, for Anambra to resolve, but it looks like security is top on the front burner. So let's try to resolve this. And I also recall in 2017, you referenced some warlords, is it from South Africa, who are coming to cause mayhem. That was at that time. You're a politician, and you said that theoretically you were with the PDP, you're an elder statesman or elder party man at this time. But from your reading, from the interactions you've had with politicians, you've said that the major candidates have come to you, as it were. What's your reading of this insecurity you have seen? Is it still what you referenced in 2017? Is it different? And what do we need to touch to ensure that this is brought to an end?
Well, the responsibility for the protection of life and property is entirely on the federal government of Nigeria. The governors are, I don't know what to call them, security handkerchiefs. That's what they are. A few days ago, the National Security Advisor, and I must concede, I'm very humbled with knowledge and good delivery, very brilliant man, came out after a National Security Council meeting and gave Nigerians the details of what happened in that meeting, that they took a decision that this Anambra State should, as the president had earlier said, be dominated with the Nigerian military. And I was asking, a Security Council meeting was held for the purpose of making sure that there is security in Anambra election. Not a single human being from either the Southeast or the former Eastern region was involved in that Security Council. Not a single human being. And they did not even go to the extent of inviting any of the governors, especially those that support them, to be able to learn from them, apart from what their own security information give them.
Now, recall that the governor of Anambra actually visited
No.
the
The governor of Anambra State went after the killing of Professor Kunyili's husband.
So do you know what was discussed then? Do you know if security or issues like that were not discussed?
But I'm talking of what he did not attend the National Security Council meeting.
Is he a member of the National Security
Council? You can have an expanded Security Council meeting. It happened under Obasanjo.
Okay, so the sense is, you're not exactly sure, the process, the governor visited.
No, the process.
That may have been tabled.
There is a process.
Of course, it was tabled.
The process, excuse me, the process is not hidden. Any government can increase the Executive Council to get information from stakeholders. It's a personal requirement. If a government is serious and you need something from Chamberlain on media, you need to invite him. You need to invite him. You give information about it, and you use it to formulate whatever policy you want to do on media.
I'm just trying to say that.
No, what I'm trying to say is that if the government was sincere to discuss what happens in Anambra, somebody from Anambra must at least come there to give them information.
So, Chief, are you saying that all of these things have got to be fulfilled before Saturday's election and confidence is restored to the people to come out and vote?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Are you saying that all of these things you've highlighted, do they all have to be done to ensure that people are confident about coming out this Saturday to vote?
Well, what I thought they would have done to make it effective, that is by listening to traditional rulers or governors or stakeholders They did not do. At least not to the best of my knowledge, they did not do. They have given instruction on their decision, and their decision is to dominate Anambra State with the military. Whether that domination will aid people coming out to vote, we don't know. Whether people looking at people with armored cars, machine guns, will assist them to vote, because the thinking now is that they want to repeat what happened in Imo State, where an election was held, somebody came forth and suddenly became the governor. So if people don't come out to vote, they will sit down and write a result for somebody.
Thinking by politicians?
Because, no, what I'm saying that that is likely to happen in Anambra State, because I was waiting for my brother to say that, I would have asked him, why is somebody like Dr. Chris Ngige not supporting his candidate? Chris Ngige that formed with Buhari, formed APC. Why is he not supporting his candidate?
But his candidate, who do you mean?
I mean the candidate of APC.
But he's part of the campaign.
Where have you seen him in campaign?
No, he's actually part of a member of the campaign.
They announced his name as member of the campaign. He's never been there.
Okay. Well,
and he was the first person who said that there was no primary in Anambra State and has not changed it up to today.
Okay, well, I think Mark has got
some. So, I mean, these are factual.
Mark?
Well, I know that Ambassador has been keen to contribute to the discussion. You just heard that other allegation about, I mean, I mentioned the fact that they're both now in the same party. Of course, there's history between the two of them. You know, how do you want to first of all respond to that before we go back to the fundamental issues of people coming out to vote and what you expect of the conduct of the elections?
Thank you so very much. Before I answer that question, with all due respect to my senior brother and former chairman, let me say clearly here that the person that is most qualified, most prepared, is important to underline this. The most prepared person to be governor of Anambra State come November 6 is Senator Andy Uba. And I have several reasons. One, as a politician, I'm a practical politician. I'm not a politician who sits at the back and talks. I go down to the roots. I participate in it. The reason is this. In governance, it's not about I. I wish you watched the debate of yesterday. You will be sorry to see that someone will recommend Soludo with the way he spoke yesterday. I did this. I'm the only person. That's not how to be a governor. To be a governor, you must be inclusive. You say, this is what we can do. This is what we should do as a team. No one person can be governor and be an effective governor. Andy Uba is one of the only persons who can assemble a team. And when I say this, I say it with all sense of responsibility. I have been in the system and I understand how the system runs. So without equivocation, out of the candidates that are coming out of Anambra, Senator Andy Uba, he has been with Obasanjo for 8 years. Finished 8 years, he went to the Senate and spent 8 years. And when we talk about people like Soludo, let me say it on national TV. When you talk about a candidate of the other party,
he's not here to defend himself.
He may not be here to defend himself, but somebody is here defending him. Now, the point I'm making is that it is important to know that the Soludo you're hearing was made by Senator Andy Uba, was facilitated by Senator Andy Uba. How? Because I was present in the villa when Senator Andy Uba's elder brother, Senator Ugochukwu Uba, who was the roommate of Soludo, brought him to the villa to introduce him to the president. And when that was done, Andy Uba took up the matter and insisted that Soludo, he started as chief economic advisor to the president. I was in the villa. The president called us and said, look, we have decided to make Soludo the governor of Central Bank. One of the chiefs was sent by Soludo to go and thank the president. You know what the president of Obasanjo said? Don't thank me. Go and thank Senator Andy Uba. He's the person who made it possible for you. What am I trying to say? This is somebody who is, benevolent enough to allow others. Most people in his position would have looked for their brothers or their sisters to give that appointment. I can name on and on and on. Many
but
other
those
things
who
he
claim
has.
that Professor Soludo is brother enough, I mean, the fact that they are from the same state, isn't that brotherly enough, so to speak? But, you know, away from, you know, issues of personality right now, do you think that the fact that Dr. Andy Oba is running on the platform of the APC,
Yes.
and how in terms of how the APC is, I mean, perceived in the Southeast, especially at the center,
Yeah.
do you think that is going to hamper his chances?
Definitely not. If, you know, it's only somebody who is blind that will not see what is happening in Anambra. A state where the deputy governor of the state had defected to APC, a state where 2 members of the BOT of APGA had defected into PDP, a state where a senator from PDP had defected into APC, a state where 10 members of House of Assembly of APGA had defected into PDP, a state where...
So they're defecting into APC and PDP. Do you want to quickly make your points with that?
No, the point I'm making is that this mass exodus from other parties into APC is saying something.
You talked about the PDP as well.
No, it's not PDP. They defected from APGA into APC, defected from PDP into APC. The defection is into, now APGA, you know, has less member they have in the National Assembly, in the House of Assembly before. As also, in the National Assembly, in the House of Representatives, the only APGA they had there has also defected to APC. 2 members of the PDP have defected into APC. What is this saying to you? It's saying that this is where to go.
But with this issue of Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB, you know,
Yes.
continuing to dominate the news, so to speak,
Yes.
and all of this tied to how the government of the day, especially at the federal level, is handling the matter. Do you think it hampers in any way the chances of your candidate and your party?
Definitely not. You know what it does? It enhances it. You know why? This, you know, when, if you become a governor under APC, for example, that means that when issues are being discussed about APC, you will be sitting on the table, isn't it? And you are talking about a party like APGA, where the governor was sitting and issues of security were being discussed that will be taken to this Security Council, and he didn't show up. Now, the point I'm making is that when governors of APC are sitting down with the president, who is APC, the governor of Anambra State will be seated also. So it's an advantage. It's not a disadvantage.
What are the fundamental issues which you know, your party sees as the biggest issue in Anambra, which it intends to solve if it is elected into office?
Security. There must be security in Anambra State. Anambra is the business hub of the Southeast. Anambra is you know, if you start calling states in the Southeast, you know, if you start numbering them, Anambra will rank #1 or thereabout. And then once you destroy Anambra, you've destroyed the Southeast. So security is #1. I mean, Anduba had brought out a 10-point program, you know, which he intends to pursue. And #1, the very first one, is security. Now, Anduba is a silent operator. It's not everybody that is loud. He is a silent operator, and I'm telling you that he intends to make sure, first of all, one of the things that is happening in Anambra State today is that for the past 16 years that APGA had been, you know, in governance, they have never held a local government election. No local, you know that, you know, when the local government is not operating, you know, people feel disenchanted. Now, Anduba has said within the first 6 months of his administration, he will hold a local government election so that power will go back to the people. Employment, jobs, creation, and the rest of it will go back to the basics, to the localities where they belong. You don't have to come to Oka to get a job if your local government is functioning. Those are the things that, you know, if done. The issue of security, you and I know that in rural localities, the chiefs, the traditional rulers, and the people in the local area can even tell you who is a thief, who is a criminal.
Well, there are big questions as to how local government elections are conducted in Nigeria. And, you know, some people will say, well, very rarely do you ever see local government elections conducted, and any other party, apart from the party which is at the center in the state, winning any other seat. So I do not know whether anything is going to be different if he gets into office and is able to conduct local government elections.
In so many ways.
Yes.
Let me say that.
But what I would like to, what I would
want... Is it better not to have a local government election where you have appointed caretaker committees? I'll give you one simple example. In Anambra, one of the local governments I know, their allocation is about 250 million naira a month. Do you know what they get? 5 million naira to pay salaries. Where do the rest go? These are the issues. But
so some people will say, if we already know, you know, if the party at the center in the state already knows who is going to be local government chairman, there's no need of going through the charade of, you know, going through some purported elections. But let me ask you, you know, for those who still have doubts, who are still skeptical about the conduct of elections on Saturday in Anambra State, what will be your word to them to assure them that all will be well and that they should come out to vote?
I can assure them that, one, the federal government of Nigeria, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, has guaranteed that they will do whatever is required to protect lives and properties of people in Anambra State, so that they can go out and exercise their franchise. You know, I was discussing with someone yesterday. I said, it's so unfortunate that we are in Nigeria and we're discussing this election on Saturday. You know why I say that? Senator Andy Uba won this election in 2007, clear and square. Okay? He was removed, not because there was rigging, not because he didn't win. He was removed because the court said that Peter Obi's term had not ended. Only in Nigeria would such a thing happen. People gave him a mandate. He was not INEC that announced the date. He paid his money, ran around, won clear and square, and you just whipped him away from the court. Not only that, this is the mandate of the people. In any other clime, what would have happened would be, Andy, now that Peter Obi's term had not ended, you keep that mandate. At the end of Peter Obi's term, you go and exercise the mandate. Well, so that is why. You know why I'm making that point. That is why everybody wants Andy Uba to become governor, if no other thing.
I think your point has been made, Ambassador. We've totally run out of time. We have to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning, Ambassador Jerry Ugokwe.
So I'm just asking people to come out and vote. The environment will be safe. Let them come and vote Andy Uba and vote APC.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Ambassador Jerry Ugokwe is former Nigeria's ambassador to Austria and also a former member of the House of Representatives. Thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning.
I sincerely appreciate it.
It's back to you now, gentlemen, in Lagos.
Well, yes, indeed. Our concluding moments with Chief Dan Ulasi as well. But, Chief, would you be going out to vote on Saturday?
I will be where the voting will be taking place because I cannot vote. I was kidnapped, my vehicle was taken, my briefcase where my voting card was taken. Therefore, I have to be there just to make sure my people go out to vote.
Do you think your people will be confident to come out and vote on Saturday?
Well, let me, before I get to that, you know, I want to say something.
Yeah, but you said, just answer, then you say something.
You said, do I think that my people will
come out and vote on Saturday?
Yes, they will come out and vote. I'm going home on Thursday. I have a program in Abuja tomorrow, and I'll straight fly to Enugu. I'm going home on, Thursday morning. If you doubt, send a representative to come to Neu. My people will come out to vote. Because this election means so much to us. My brother there claimed, because I didn't know the nature of the discussion anymore. I was just looking at it. It was getting funny to me. Because I want to say emphatically that any Igbo man in Anambra State who joins APC for as long as Nnamdi Kanu is languishing in jail is a saboteur.
Well, Chief, we can't say that because...
Now, I'm telling you because it is fundamental. It is fundamental for the survival of our people that injustice has to be removed, and we look at him as a symbol of defending that injustice.
That may be your opinion,
yes,
but it is a democracy. People have a right to join wherever they want.
No.
And we have to respect that.
I concede that right.
So let it reflect in your response.
Chamberlain, the circumstances the Igbos find themselves is no more democratic. It is existential. We are now fighting for our own existence. And anybody that supports the institution that makes it impossible for us to survive becomes suspect.
But then, you know, the thing about all of this is...
And you forgot to know that the Constitution said before you leave your party to another party, there has to be a division. Yeah, these people moving, what is the basis of their movement?
But Chief, we can't get into that subject matter because while you were chairman of PDP, several people moved from other parties to your party. So it happens to all political parties.
Not at all.
So politicians should just leave
on this your network.
That subject
on this
matter.
Your network, if you remember, when Tambuwal, as Speaker of the Federal House, after addressing his colleagues, paused and came back to tell them that because of situations in his state, he was leaving the PDP to APC. And 2 days after, you invited me, and I said it was criminal, that he should not be in that office a day longer. But the processes of the Nigerian law, nobody did anything. Today, he's back to PDP. So we are in a system where laws do not function, but because laws don't function, we don't have to trivialize, constitutional processes.
Well, importantly, because the concern for us here is safety of lives and property. So the people in the state have got to be free to come out and vote. That's what we're trying to find out, if the atmosphere is good enough for that to happen.
They will have the courage to come out and vote.
And no one should pigeonhole anyone. It's a democracy. People have a right to their opinion, and we all need to respect that. We could disagree with it, but we need to respect it, because at the end of the day, we still have to have a scenario where people can discuss their ideas intelligently. Ideas have got to contend, then the superior ones have the day. It's the rule of law, not the rule of force. And I think that those are the ideals we should project and protect.
If I must comment before I leave, I wasn't challenging anybody's right to move from one point to the other. And I started an argument by laying the foundation that the election happening in Anambra State is not just like any other state, that we had fundamental problem of lives and property of our people as concerns with Nnamdi Kanu. What is happening in the south it's not happening in any other place.
All right, Chief, we need to move because, I mean, if we bring out the fact now that Masob, while you were chairman, some of these things happened, and many questions, how could this have happened? So there are different scenarios, and it's unending. But at the end of the day, we'll just hope
when I was chairman, that Masob did what?
Well, we'll just have to...
No, because you just made a statement. I was chairman of party for 3.5 months, and Masob wasn't operating.
No.
Well, so the question a lot of people will ask is, I mean, going back to how the government, branded Masob, arrested leaders, with this a similar scenario, and I mean, they'll ask, what did you say about people joining, the central party in government then? Did you say there were saboteurs at that time? So a lot of people will look back and wonder, what is different now? But more importantly is the fact that we're looking ahead at this particular election, and the general call, and I think you have also agreed, is that election should be free, fair, credible, and safe for people. And I'm glad you'll be there, and you'll be supporting your people to go out to vote. And we wish you the very best.
Yes, indeed. As we wish every other person out there, just be safe, and then we'll hope that everyone does the right thing. According to the law, I know they will say the right thing is relative. But, Chief, we do thank you for coming on. Chief Ulasi is a former chairman of PDP and NRC in Anambra State.